Yes, Assemblyman, you're running for mayor of New York and not prime minister of Israel, but you've made inflammatory statements like calling Israel an apartheid state and questioning its right to exist as a Jewish state. Just this week, you were evasive with a reporter about condemning Hamas. Given New York has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, why should voters who see this as a moral red line trust your clarity and judgment?
Well, I really appreciate this question and an opportunity to just clear up, I think, a number of misconceptions. You know, first and foremost, you're right. I am running to be the mayor of the city, and this city will be the focus of my administration, ensuring that we make this a city everyone can afford and everyone knows that they belong to. And also, millions of New Yorkers, myself included, care deeply about what's happening in Israel and Palestine. And so to be very, very clear, of course I condemn Hamas. Of course I've called October 7th what it was, which is a horrific war crime. And of course, my belief in a universality in international law is also the same set of beliefs that have led me to describe what's happening in Gaza as a genocide. Because what we see is a war crime being answered with war crimes. And what we see is every single hour the Israeli military killing a Palestinian child for close to 2 years. And it's a horror that many New Yorkers feel so deeply. And my job, I can't stop that as the mayor of the city. I can make clear my own values, my own commitments. And it is a value and a commitment to humanity, to safety, to justice for all people that extends to everyone, Israelis, Palestinians, and everyone else across the world.
And recognizing that people do disagree with you.
Absolutely.
I am one of those people on some of these points.
Absolutely, and that you're disagreeing with me doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in this city or you shouldn't be celebrated and part of the city that I'm trying to lead. And I think that's the other part of growing up as a New Yorker, learning that disagreement and difference is part of what it means to be here. And I want to be a mayor, not just for the people who voted for me, not just for the people who agree with me, but every New Yorker. And that means that if a New Yorker disagrees with me about Israel, I'm still fighting for them to make sure that they can afford this city, be safe in this city, and see the city as their home.
Well, so one of the things that I've heard you talk about is making the city affordable for everybody, and that you're gonna, put a tax on people who make over $1 million or whatever. But what I want to know
With an exception for Joy.
Think again, my friend. But listen, on day one, why aren't you going to big corporations like Amazon and Google and making sure that they pay what could really help the city raise up and get us where we need to do? Because I need to hear somebody say, because it's the thing nobody says. They say, oh, we're going to make people pay, but they're not clear. They came in, they said, we're going to make these jobs, people are going to have these, they're going to have work. But then they had to fight to unionize because they're not getting paid enough.
Absolutely.
So I don't understand why the focus, if the focus is for New Yorkers to be lifted and New York State to be lifted and put in the right perspective, why the focus isn't on the companies that could be doing a lot more for the places have their places, but it doesn't happen.
Instead of the individual, or including the individual tax
corporate?
You mean corporations should...
As I said, Amazon and Google, corporations, who don't seem to pay the same kinds of taxes everyone else pays.
Look, if you were running for mayor, I'd be voting for you. Because I think, Whoopi, to your point, the corporate greed that we're seeing in this country, it cannot be separated from the level of inequality that people are living through. And one of the key revenue proposals I've put forward, our agenda from the day we started was about freezing the rent for more than 2 million tenants, making the slowest buses in the country fast and free, delivering universal childcare. So no longer would a family pay $25,000 a year just to find childcare for one kid. And what we've said is that two of the main ways we'd pay for it, one of them would be to raise the top corporate tax rate. This is a corporate tax rate that applies to the most profitable companies that do business in the state, like the ones that you've named, to that of New Jersey. So it would just match that of our neighbor, 11.5% that they have over there. By matching our neighbor, we would raise $5 billion a year. And that would be money we could reinvest into working in middle-class New Yorkers' lives so that everyone could afford it.
So you don't think that would drive them out of the city, then?
No, so the nature of our tax law is that applies to any business doing business here. They could be headquartered in Miami, but if they're doing business here, it applies to them. And the reason that I believe they'll keep doing business here is because this is one of the largest economies in the world. Everyone wants to be here.
And when you talk about, because people think everybody that makes money does not care about the city. And sometimes I think it's important for folks when you're talking about raising taxes also on people, because the people who have money keep the city going.
Yeah.
And sometimes people feel pushed out of the city because the zillions that they're paying, whether it's for the MTA, for the bus, for the this, for the, doesn't seem to be appreciated. So I just want to make sure that you understand people want to make the city work. And people will back you if everybody is paying their fair share.
Absolutely.
If everybody pays, then I don't mind paying. If just some folks are paying, I'm not happy.
And Amazon is not paying, then you're not happy. Right.
You know, okay.
And I think it's exactly as both of you have said, right? You look at some of these companies who are making the most amount of money in the world, and you're asking, why are they facing less regulation than the bodega on my corner?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
No.
And that's why you have
You're
to
gonna fix it.
Yes. You have to have a policy that, on the one hand, makes it easier for a small business to flourish. You cut fines and fees by 50%. You say no longer does a person who wants to open a barbershop have to fill out 24 forms, go to 7 agencies, go to 12 in-person events. You actually make it easier to be an entrepreneur, and you ensure that these companies that are making money hand over fist are actually paying their fair share.
And you're going to do that.
Yes, ma'am.